It was the last train of the night. The station was eerily empty, the flickering fluorescent lights buzzing like dying insects. Ethan stepped into the carriage, the door hissing shut behind him. He glanced around. Empty seats, except for a lone figure in the far corner. She was small, her face hidden beneath a hood. Something about her made his skin crawl. Maybe it was the way she sat, too still, too quiet. Ethan took a seat a few rows away, telling himself not to overthink it. The train jerked forward, the wheels screeching against the tracks, and they were off. The first few minutes passed in tense silence. Ethan kept his eyes on his phone, scrolling aimlessly. Then, he felt it. A prickle on the back of his neck, like someone was watching him. He glanced up. The girl hadn't moved. But her head was tilted slightly now, as if she was listening. The air felt heavier. The hum of the train seemed quieter, as though it was being smothered by the silence. Ethan cleared his throat and looked back down at his phone, trying to ignore the growing unease. A faint whisper broke the silence. Ethan froze. He couldn't make out the words, but the sound was unmistakable. It was coming from her direction. Slowly, he turned his head. The girl was staring directly at him now, her face partially visible under the hood. Her eyes were dark, too dark, and her lips moved soundlessly, forming words he couldn't hear. "Hey," Ethan said, his voice shaking. "Are you okay?" She didn't answer. Instead, she tilted her head further, her neck bending at an unnatural angle, like a broken doll. The train's lights flickered. The carriage plunged into darkness for a split second before the lights returned. When they did, the girl was sitting in the row directly across from him. Ethan jumped. His heart pounded in his chest. "What the hell?" he muttered, scrambling to his feet. The girl's lips stretched into a smile, wide and unnatural, revealing teeth that seemed too sharp. "Don't let them know you can see me," she whispered, her voice barely audible but echoing in his head like a scream. The train screeched to a halt. The lights flickered again, longer this time, leaving Ethan in near total darkness. When they came back, the girl was gone. Ethan spun around, searching the carriage. Empty. The doors hadn't opened, and there was nowhere for her to go. His phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out with trembling hands. A message from an unknown number. "She's still with you." Ethan's breath hitched. He looked around wildly, his reflection staring back at him from the dark windows. But then he noticed something horrifying. There was a second reflection behind him. Slowly, he turned. The girl was standing inches away, her face twisted into something monstrous. Her eyes were hollow pits, and her mouth hung open, impossibly wide, emitting a low, guttural growl. Ethan stumbled backward, tripping over a seat and falling hard onto the floor. "Help!" he screamed, but the train remained eerily silent, the sound swallowed by the oppressive darkness. The girl leaned closer, her hollow eyes locking onto his. "You shouldn't have looked," she hissed. The lights flickered one final time, plunging the train into pitch black. Ethan's screams echoed through the carriage, cut off abruptly. When the train pulled into the next station, it was empty. The conductor found Ethan's phone on the floor, its screen cracked, displaying the last message, "Now they see you too." No one ever saw Ethan again. But late at night, passengers on the last train swear they hear whispers, and sometimes, just for a moment, they see a shadow sitting alone in the corner.